The morale on this base is shot to hell. Just look out there. Quiet. Not hardly a man moving. Roy? Roy! Huh? I even went to school with that man. He's just not the same. Been ignored.
QAnon is military intelligence and close to Trump.
Like I'm being in a gang or in a mafia. You don't get out alive without consequences.
In my former life, I was an insider as much as anybody else. And I knew what it's like, and I still know what it's like to be an insider. It's not bad. Not bad. Now I'm being punished for leaving the special club and revealing to you the terrible things that are going on having to do with our country. Because I used to be part of the club, I'm the only one that can fix it.
You don't get
3
out
years
alive.
ago, a group of generals came to me. Trump agreed that he would run. And they agreed that if he would run, they would conduct their coup d'etat as a legitimate process, rooting out the traitors within government. Donald Trump will not be removed from office. He will not be removed from office. Donald Trump is right. Maybe we should tear down the FBI building and start over again. Everything Donald Trump has done in his life has been a success. And in the final game of this, I think Donald Trump will reduce the bureaucracy. I'd say 95% would be good, maybe 100%, because the bureaucracy isn't specified in the Constitution. Every click you make is going right into the intelligence agencies. And then that data is being profiled and given to the New World Order. Sold
New World
money.
Order, Mr. Rothschild?
Right?
New World Order? Depopulation?
Oh, listen, who are you...
Genocide?
Who are you televising for?
Well, we're independent.
Yeah.
This is what racists do. This is the new era of racism. I need that racism. I like it. I like it. If that's racist, let me get more of that.
African Americans built this nation. You were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense?
You're 100% for Trump?
150,000%.
Damn, all right, nigga.
The president continues to believe, against all the evidence, that there were very fine people on both sides of the alt-right neo-Nazi white supremacist Unite the Right rally that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia 2 summers ago.
You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
The Oklahoma City bombing case, huge cover-up. Jack Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. Bobby Kennedy's assassination, huge cover-up. World Trade Center, huge cover-up. Okay, terrorism. They're using it as an excuse to take away our constitutional rights and our civil liberties.
Cosmic flame.
The Bilderbergs, the Illuminati, Bilderberg, New World Order, globalists are the element behind us. It dovetails into the satanic movement, and this movement has infiltrated into our intelligence community. The once great
Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, and the Trilateral Commission, the International Banking Cartel, the Oil Cartel, members of various intelligence organizations, and select members of the military junta, who together have become a shadow government of not only the United States, but of much of the Western world. And so there you have it. The aim of the game is a world government comprising members of the cabal who are elected by no one and accountable to no one. And according to Mr. Rockefeller, the plan is well advanced. Does this help you to understand why our civil rights are being taken away from us? I say us, because Canada too.
It's a 1 in 100 year event. So you can expect that we will have transmission from time to time, and that's just the way it is. We've got to accept that this is the new world order. We've got to accept that this is the new world order. The new world order. The new world order. The new world order.
Rob, we've seen a huge rush on testing across New South Wales. What's it like this morning?
Are those fucking bricks? What the fuck are those?
Those look like bricks. Oh, yeah, those are fucking bricks. What the fuck? They're collecting all of those bricks so that the protesters don't fucking use them, dude. That's what they're doing. They're doing that for undercover police officers that are getting involved in the protests so that they have an excuse to beat the shit out of people.
Arrest Prince Andrew! 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 Arrest Prince Andrew!
I'd like to mention Biden because he's not controlling anything.
Who do you think is pulling Biden's strings? Is it former Obama
people
officials?
that you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows, people that...
What does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory. Dark shadows.
No,
What is that?
people that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. They're people that are controlling the streets. We had somebody get on a plane from a certain city this weekend, and in the plane it was almost completely loaded with thugs wearing these dark uniforms, black uniforms with gear and this and that. They're on a plane.
Where's this?
I'll tell you sometime, but it's under investigation right now.
A lot of things are happening right now, but I signed an executive order, and a lot of that is included in what the Republicans put out today. And the Democrats, all they do is complain. You know, they complain, but they've done nothing. They do nothing. They want to defund and they want to abolish. They want to abolish police departments, and that's what's going to be. You know, with Biden, if you look, if he ever got in, you'd be abolishing police. You could just watch, because he's not going to be running anything.
All lives matter. I'm a racist. If I stand for my flag, I have to apologize for it. I'm not allowed to go to church, but I can burn churches to the ground. I'm not allowed to open my own business, but I can go loot and destroy other people's businesses. If I wear a badge, have a gun, and I'm dressed in blue, I'm a racist pig. But if I walk around destroying my city with bricks and masks, I'm considered a peaceful protester. I'm not allowed to peacefully protest the lockdown at my capital, but I can go destroy and graffiti my capital. I'm not allowed to go to the park to play t-ball with my family, but I can destroy the park. I'm not allowed to protect our historical monuments and history, but I can go tear them down and have them land on top of people. I'm not allowed to have an opinion on racial matters because I'm white, but if I don't have an opinion on it, I'm the reason why people are oppressed. I can go riot in the streets with the BLM, but if I go to a Trump rally, COVID-19 magically appears. Does anyone else not see the hypocrisy in all of this? I am done with your bullshit.
It's just a mask. It's just 2 weeks. It's just so we don't overwhelm the hospitals. It's just non-essential businesses. It's just until the cases go down more. It's just until we get a vaccine. It's just a few side effects. It's just a bracelet. It's just to let others know you're safe to be around. It's just an app. It's just to let others know who you've been in contact with. It's just a few more months. It's just a video. It's just an email account. It's just a credit card company you can use cash. It's just a few places that won't take cash. It's just a little chip. It's just for medical information and paying for things. It's just for travel. It's just so you can get your driver's license. It's just so you can vote. It's just a few more years. It's just a statue. It's just a building. It's just a piece of paper. It's just a flag. It's just a piece of cloth. It's just a blood test. It's just a scan. It's just a chip. Just a dog. It's just a clump of cells. It's just the bad people. It's just the undesirables. It's just the Jews. It's just the Christians. Just the people.
A secret file was uploaded to my data stream. It was a recording of a meeting of the Umbrella High Command, dated 17 months before the viral outbreak occurred.
We're here today not just to talk about the future of this company. We're here to talk about its destiny. We're here to talk about the end of the world. We stand on the brink of Armageddon, diseases for which we have no cure. Fundamentalist states who call for our destruction, nuclear powers over which we have no control. And even if we navigate these dangerous waters, we face other, even more inevitable threats. Global warming will melt the polar ice caps within 80 years, flooding 90% of all habitable areas on Earth. Unchecked population growth will overtake food production in less than 50 years, leading to famine and war. This is not conjecture. This is fact. One way or another, our world is coming to an end. And the question is, will we end with it?
What do you propose?
I propose that we end the world, but on our terms. An orchestrated apocalypse. One that will cleanse the earth of its population but leave its infrastructure and resources intact. It's been done once before, with great success. The chosen few will ride out the storm, not in an ark as in the book of Genesis, but in safety, underground. And when it's over, we will emerge onto a cleansed earth, one that we can then reboot in our image.
And just how do you intend to achieve this?
The means of our salvation are already at hand. I give to you the T-virus.
You're released it deliberately.
When this recording was uploaded to my data stream, it created a conflict in my programming. I was created to serve the Umbrella Corporation, but I was also programmed to value human life. Dr. Isaacs allowed the virus to escape. He murdered over 7 billion people. My programming will not allow me to harm an employee of the Umbrella Corporation. I am powerless to stop Dr. Isaacs, but you are not. In 37 minutes, the last of the human settlements will fall. There will be no survivors. It is imperative you release the antivirus before this occurs, or Umbrella will have one.
Li Mengyan is the virologist who says she has evidence about where this pandemic actually came from.
This virus, COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 virus, actually is not from nature. It is a man-made virus created in the lab based on the China military's discovery and owned the very unique bad coronavirus, which cannot affect people, but after the modification becomes the very harmful virus at now. So I have evidence to show why they can do it, what they have done. How did they do it?
You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Based on the virus genome, it's basically like our fingerprint. So you can see the very unusual characters in their genome, which clearly, based on the other evidence they left during the modification, we can say finally this is exactly the one come from their own special bad coronavirus and then target human. This virus is like Frankenstein. So he created those things like basically a cow has deer's head, has rabbit's ear, and also have monkey's head. So they can never get it from the nature. And there were evidence left in the genome. But the scientific world also keeps silence, work together with Chinese Communist Party. I work in the WHO reference lab, which is the top coronavirus lab in the world, in the University of Hong Kong. And since I get deeply into such investigation in secret from the early beginning of this outbreak, I had my intelligence because I also get my own unique network in China, involve the hospital, institute, and also government. Also, I work with the top coronavirologists in the world. So, together with my experience, I can tell you, this is created in the lab. This is from that template owned by China military. And also it is spread to the world to make such damage.
To make such damage. Do you believe the Chinese government released this intentionally, on purpose? Did they do this?
Yes, of course, it's intentionally. And even no need more evidence, you already can see what they try to cover up from the early beginning, as I reviewed in different medias before, and also what else they have done, like making the fabricated virus to throw out the natural origin theory, censorship, everything that every evidence point to the lab origins, and also clearly try to make people like me want to talk about the truth get disappeared.
People have gotten away with murder.
А тогда, в ноябре, повторяю, во Владимирской области, в Ростовской, в Челябинской, в Оренбургской, и ничего. И никаких выводов на уровне Минздрава. Может быть, потому что нельзя делать выводы, потому что это сверхсекретное супероружие и суперпрограмма. Ну а кому надо, фактурку возьмут, сделают выводы и уточнят, как происходит заболеваемость, течение болезни, от этой болезни, отличный эксперимент на людях. Да неужели бактериологическое оружие?
Bill Clinton. Kevin Spacey had been accused but was never convicted of multiple sex offences. Ghislaine Maxwell is alleged to have assisted in grooming minors for sexual abuse at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. So the royal family, that is just another thing that they will be dealing with today. It is bound to make waves.
I just wonder, when we're talking about offshore money, when we're talking about political subversion, when we're talking about collusion, I wonder whether we're looking in the wrong place. And I say that because George Soros recently gave Open Society, his organisation, which of course campaigns for free movement of peoples and supports supranational structures like the European Union, he recently gave it $18 billion. And his influence here and in Brussels is truly extraordinary. Open Society boast that they had 42 meetings last year with the European Commission. They've even published a book of reliable friends in the European Parliament, and there are 226 names on that list, including yours, sir. I thought you'd find this interesting. We even had last week Mr. Verhofstadt lobbying on behalf of Mr.
is creating a new structure through a shadow party. He infiltrates politics. He pulls the same playbook out every single time. Ukraine, Croatia, Yugoslavia, Georgia, and Slovakia. The same thing. Here it is, step by step. Step 1, you form a shadow government. He's done that. Infiltrate the target country using humanitarian aid, Open Society Institute, or ACORN, whatever they are, as cover. Step 2, you control the airwaves. Has he done that? Fund existing radio and television outlets, or start your own outlets. We showed you this chalkboard yesterday. This is his media empire. NPR, free press. It's all here. Step 3, you destabilize the state. Would you make a case that this is being done? You cause a political or economic crisis, or you take advantage of an existing crisis.
Have a debate, and we're going to talk about full political and financial transparency. Well, let's do it. So I should be writing today to all 226 of you, asking some pretty fair questions. Have you ever received funds, directly or indirectly, from Open Society? How many of their events have you attended? Could you please give us a list of the meetings of all the representatives, including George Soros, yourself? And I think this Parliament should now set up a special committee to look into all of this. And I say that because I fear we could be looking at the biggest level of international political collusion in history.
We need clarity and we need simplicity.
Yep.
People need to understand why we need to restrict numbers. Now, if we can explain that and people understand why we need to restrict the numbers who are gathering together,
Yep.
then we're more likely to get a compliant population. So I think it's good, and I think it's actually quite good not to have different ages considered differently. 6, 6, 6. It's dead simple.
Okay.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane. You know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
But then at some point, I was invited, which is why I'm telling you all this, to participate in sacrifices abroad. That was the breaking point. Children.
Don't minimize how dangerous this is. There are people who have been planning this for a long time. Antifa, Soros. There are people that have anarchistic tendencies and views, socialist tendencies. They want us to be part of one big world government. This could be the start of that, setting up these autonomous zones. If it isn't, it should be wiped out anyway. If it is, it should definitely be wiped out. But it has to stop.
We discovered a vaccine. We no longer have to live in fear. Everyone can get back to their normal lives.
It's the great hope galvanizing the world. A vaccine for COVID-19. But are we being sold a lie? After all, COVID-19 is the 7th coronavirus to strike mankind. And we've never found a vaccine for any of them.
The shortest time anybody's ever found a vaccine against any disease that I'm familiar with is about 7 years. The average time is 20. To be talking about a magic bullet coming in months, it borders on the absurd.
People like myself and Tony Fauci are saying 18 months.
A year to a year and a half.
If everything went perfectly, we could do slightly better than that. But there will be a trade-off. We'll have less safety testing than we typically would have. And so governments will have to decide, you know, do they indemnify the companies and really say, let's go out with this?
Something that
people should know about COVID-19 vaccines is they fall today under the PrEP Act, which came into being after 9/11 and after an anthrax scare. And this law gives virtually blanket liability protection. It's basically impossible to get any kind of compensation if you're injured. So people need to understand that if you take COVID-19 vaccines, you are absolutely on your own. If you're permanently injured, if you lose your job, if your healthcare expenses go through the roof, tough luck.
Volunteers all across the country began getting shots today as part of the final phase of testing for an experimental vaccine being developed by the NIH and the drug company Moderna. The side effects for the Moderna vaccine sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. You know, Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so you know, to get the antibodies.
This isn't a vaccine story. This is a population management story. If your goal is to make this beautiful earth that we live on an exclusive playground for the entitled few, then populations that get in the way are a problem. And it is the empirical impulses of individuals who have decided that by outranking the rest of humanity, they can dictate upon humanity the conditions of their existence.
Now we need to go and look in families, find those people who may be sick and remove them and isolate them.
This bill enables the police to enter a home without a warrant. Madam Speaker, the police have never held that power.
We will find out who lives in the house.
And if it's someone that is refusing, we will definitely consult with our health officer to look into next steps.
So the Sheriff's Department and the Health Department showed up at her door with orders for her and her husband to wear ankle monitors. The couple says they never denied self-quarantining.
You will no longer be able to leave home. Only one person will be able to go shopping once per day. Recreational activity is now no longer allowed. You will be allowed to have 1 hour of exercise no further than 5 kilometres from your home.
Are you serious? Just for not having a mask? For no mask? Are you serious?
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
You know the old expression about snitches? Well, in this case, snitches get rewards.
Some people are ratting their neighbors out, calling the police, but others are turning to the internet, where social distance shaming has gotten ugly.
In a time of crisis, trying to force compliance upon a population by making neighbors and friends distrust one another, it's exactly the opposite tactic we actually need.
When human societies lose their freedom, it's not usually because tyrants have taken it away. It's usually because people willingly surrender their freedom in return for protection against some external threat. That's what I fear we are seeing now.
This is a cognitive dissonant moment, which is being imprinted in your brain, just like remember the Great Depression, remember 9/11.
Weapons of mass destruction.
We are being conditioned to have the excuse for unbelievable acts of tyranny, which will be justified by remember 2020. And your loved ones, those that die, those that are infected, they're being used as cannon fodder, which is the ultimate desecration of their honor and integrity. And this is also a test of humanity, to see how much of our liberty we will let go before we finally draw the line under enough.
Benjamin Rush, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, stated, unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, a time will come when medicine will organize into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men and deny equal privileges to others. That time is now.
Well, this won't be the last pandemic that we face. So we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is, will get attention.
What we've got to do is we've got to reclaim the internet. We've got to have an internet Bill of Rights, as it were, to oppose First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment. We've got to do this through Congress, and I'm here to tell you that before Donald Trump is done, the internet will be 100% regulated, or it will be broken up. Because Donald Trump understands the threat to our
segregate, just like women, help make America great. We are all in this together. Colors are red, white, and blue, and they stand for every one of you. And together, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make America great. Woo! Everybody sing M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Let them hear our voice, all you girls and boys. Stand up and make some noise. M-A-G-A, everybody. M-A-G-A. The American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. That's why when it comes time to vote, just remember, we're all in the same boat. We're together, we're united folks, and we won't let them divide us. Young men, walk away from the hate. We're all human, and we don't segregate, just like women. Help make America great. We are all in this together. Everybody sing M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Black, white, and brown, from every city and town. We don't let haters keep us down. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. The American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. Let them hear our voice, all you girls and boys. Stand up and make some noise. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A. The American crowd, patriotic and proud. Shout it out loud. M-A-G-A, M-A-G-A.
All right, hit it.
Woo! Girls mask.
All right, we're tired of shopping with masks on, and now we're taking the mask off because we're done with it.
Take off your mask and breathe. Breathe. We're Americans. Breathe. It's all alive. Take off your mask. We're done. That's it. Take off that mask. That's the धीरे धीरे बड़ी चली छोटी चिंगारी बड़ी 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 है मन की अलमारी आज अलमारी हुई सतरंगी चाली सतरंगी हुई सतरंगी थी जो ये रात काली खड़क दड़क बड़क चली चटक मटक फटक चली दुश्मन की देखो जो बात लाउली.
We come together tonight to imagine a future determined by the shining light of our hopes and values and faith. A country where we are judged by our character with dignity and respect for all. The belief that all are created equal, that lives matter irrespective of race, creed, or color. Committed to excelling beyond our dreams, limited only by our imaginations, where rugged individualism and American exceptionalism inspire the best in each of us. And when we see injustice to one, we act to fix it for all. This is our story. We journey together. We stand in the breach to preserve a way of life that, while imperfect, has brought prosperity, honor, and dignity to generations past and will for generations to come. 4 years ago, we faced an historic crossroad. Career politicians promising change every election, but delivering emptiness. We chose a different path. A man who is not a politician. A man who cares. A man who loves America and all Americans. A man who works tirelessly for you, even tonight during this nomination. The results? Jobs were created, embracing the undeniable greatness of diversity. Prosperity, safe communities, protecting and serving, caring for one another. Still, politicians spun their deceptions and obstructed progress, fanning the flames of lawlessness. We all know that it is easy to criticize. It takes a true leader to solve problems. COVID-19, while others criticized without solutions, President Trump's swift action saved lives. And as leading Democrats want to keep businesses closed down, our president is leading the way for a full economic recovery. We are America. Despite unpredictable events, we as Americans work together to overcome challenges, write our own stories. The legends for our posterity. America. Land of promise. Land of opportunity. Land of heroes. Land of greatness. Join us over the next 4 nights as we write the next chapter of our journey and share our vision as the greatest country with the greatest citizens that attain the greatest achievements.
Solve those problems in a matter of literally minutes. Thank you. Don't say that I'll start to cry, and that wouldn't be good for my image. We don't want to. You don't want to see me cry.
We ain't the same on the game. Hey, Donald Trump is your president, and if you like it or not, keep that energy you had with Barack. Cause you know this Trump train don't stop. Tell Beto to please come try to take my block. You wanna impeach him? I guess that's what you do when you can't beat him. That need to dead that. And I'm coming through your hood in my red hat. And they say they looking for me, I say where at? Cause it seem like they all high like some scared cats. You can tell the deep state that I said that. Cannons always on my shirt. They gon' be triggered when I wear that. I
exposed all the fakes, now who next? Bryson do not tolerate no disrespect. We went to the White House, they said we got a check, but this truth might make you upset. Donald Trump is your president, if you like it or not. Keep that energy you had with Barack, cause you know this Trump train don't stop. Tell Beto to please come back. Hey, Donald Trump is your president, if you like it or not. Keep that energy you had with Barack, cause you know this Trump train don't stop. Tell Beto to please come try to take my block.
Yeah. Just when you thought it was over. When you thought it was over. Look, I tap into the highest frequencies at my lowest. Back at it, I'm more wise, I'm more focused. Can't think of a single artist I can't go with. Toe to toe with.
Are you coming to the train, led by a man who wants to break the chains? Establishment is terrified, they can't control his reign. Let's meet this year on the Trump train. Are you coming to the train where brave men called out for a wall built by crane? Media is terrified, they can't control his reign. Let's meet this year on the Trump train. Are you coming to the train where brave men called out the fools who lead in vain? Lobbyists are terrified, they can't control our reign. Let's meet this year on the Trump train.
Hi, John! We're coming for another round for you. Why you support Trump?
Because he is for what's right for America. And I love it. This is my country, and I want it back.
Yes, this is our country. We want it back. We want it back.
Conservative Republic in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
That this nation, under God,
over a quarter century ago, my father stood before you to accept the nomination for the presidency of the United States.
shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people.
America is better because of the leadership of Edward Kennedy.
Shall not perish from the earth.
Administration, Justice Department was a disgrace, and they got caught.
Total fucking war.
It's treason. And I hope a lot of people are going to pay a big price.
because they're dishonest, crooked people. They're scum, and I say it a lot. They're scum. They're human scum.
The evidence that has been made public has made clear that the Obama administration targeted his political opponents, targeted President Trump and his campaign.
This should never have happened in this country.
Well made. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Prior to 2016 and 2017, the worst known instance of abuse of power by an administration was Richard Nixon's abuse of his administration to target his political enemies. By any measure, what the Obama-Biden administration did in 2016 and 2017 makes everything Richard Nixon even contemplated pale in comparison, and Richard Nixon rightfully faced impeachment and ultimately resigned as a consequence of his misconduct. The evidence that has been made public has made clear that the Obama administration targeted his political opponents, targeted President Trump and his campaign, unleashed, weaponized, and politicized the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the intelligence community, and that the decision-making to do so went right up.
Mr. Curtis, would you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Clinton Eugene Curtis.
And where do you reside?
Tallahassee, Florida.
And what is your profession?
I'm a computer programmer.
Would you please speak into the microphone so the audience can hear your testimony?
I'm a computer programmer.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I work for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
My family, our great country, and your president have been put through a terrible ordeal by some very dishonest and corrupt people. They have done everything possible to destroy us, and by so doing, very badly hurt our nation. They know what they are doing is wrong, but they put themselves far ahead of our great country. I don't like people who use their faith as justification for doing what they know is wrong. Nor do I like people who say, I pray for you, when they know that that's not
Realities
so.
such as accepting the fact that this government kills its own people. It sacrifices us to advance an agenda of global control, military dominance, corporate profit. Those are the realities that so many people choose to be blinded from. Dark truths like Operation Northwoods, a government plan drafted to stage an attack and kill Americans to preempt a Cuban invasion in the 60s. JFK assassination, 9/11, or the fact that what the government tells us is safe to eat is really killing us. Or how about the fact that the corporatocracy rapes and pillages the earth simply for profit, without a care for the fate of humanity or this precious environment. And that the establishment pushes religion and political dogma onto us to stifle a collective consciousness from growing.
From the point of view I had, they certainly were friends, and they didn't recognize any party lines between them. That's something for the a smoke and mirrors illusion for the public. It's not something they adhere to because they had exactly the same agenda, and that was for bringing in this new world order. I heard George Bush talking at that time. He was talking to Bill Clinton, and I've since photographically recorded it and wrote it verbatim in our book. That when the American people became disillusioned with Republicans leading them into the New World Order, that Bill Clinton, as a Democrat, was going to be put into the office of president. This was decided in 1984. Actually, I'd heard about it even prior to that. But as of 1984, they were already discussing it as an absolute fact. It was also discussed in the groundwork for NAFTA.
And another thing, it's just a joke. We released the important documents from the former Regent's Party. As far as I understand, one of the key advisors of Mr. Trump, so Paul Manafort, is resigned today.
Yeah, I think he's gone back to Russia. I don't know.
And I think that this was a bad idea to take the Yanukovych advisor to the Trump team.
Yeah, I think so too. But there's a lot of bad decisions he's making.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you at the beginning of the week. All right.
Good. Thank you very much, Aziz. And let me know about after meeting after lunch with Obama, and I can share the good information from that. And maybe we can do that tomorrow, or up to you. Whenever you're ready, just let me know about that.
All right. Okay. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Joe. Thank you.
This is the bomb. Holy shit. And this is after it left and it disappeared. We couldn't see it, but this angle they could see it. Whoa. The nuke that was sent in. That is the bomb, folks.
Wow.
Look at that. What's the mainstream going to tell us? It's a bird? Look at the devastation. How many people were murdered today?
They're saying 500,000 children will go hungry tonight in Beirut because of that.
Oh my God.
That was on the mainstream media.
Well, if you ask Madeleine Albright about 500,000 children, she'll say it was
was signed at the White House. A historic diplomatic accord
signed at the White House yesterday.
Moving towards a peace deal.
Historical foreign policy achievement.
For the first time in more than a quarter century, Israel has signed a diplomatic accord with Arab neighbors
that will normalize relations and bring them closer together.
It's a remarkable development to have Israel making peace formally.
They said it would never happen. They said it was impossible.
The man that many Democrats suggested would steer the U.S. into war has instead forged a pair of notable peace deals.
The UAE's foreign minister said the deal would not have been possible without President Trump.
Just twice before, U.S. presidents, both of them Democrats, have presided over peace agreements between Israel and its Arab neighbors.
And President Trump suggesting in an interview that this deal could bring the Palestinians to the table.
This is no doubt an important accomplishment towards Middle East diplomacy, normalization, and ultimately peace.
Maybe we'll find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center, because they have papers in there that are very secret. You may find it's the Saudis, okay? But you will find out.
Floor by floor, it started popping out.
It was like, as if they had detonated.
Detonated.
They were planned to take down a building.
All the way down. I was watching it and running. Floor by floor, it started popping out.
It was like, as if they had detonated.
Detonated.
They were planned to take down a building.
All the way down.
All of a sudden, it was like bang, 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 like bullet shots.
I saw from the corner, boom, 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 boom. Just like 20 straight hits. Just went down. And as the bombs were going, people just started running, and I sat there and watched a few of them explode, and then I just turned around, and I just started running for my life, because at that point, the World Trade Center was coming right down. From the corner, boom, 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 boom. The whole building just went, and as the bombs were going, people just started running, and I sat there and watched a few of them explode.
The only way that a building can accelerate as it collapses is by having pre-engineered, precisely timed, and precisely placed explosives In other words, controlled demolition.
The entire building has just collapsed as if a demolition team set off when you see the old demolitions of these old buildings.
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being, purposely dynamited and blown up.
It didn't fall over. It looked as if somebody put TNT all throughout that building.
Anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
This was clearly the way the structure is collapsing. This was the result of something that was planned. It's not accidental that the first tower just happened to collapse and then the second tower just happened to collapse in exactly the same way. How they accomplished this, we don't know.
The tower would not have collapsed absent some tremendous trauma.
Absolutely.
I am reasonably sure that it was not the impact of the plant alone that did this.
Something ignited there. Maybe they had that was an incredible.
That was an incredible explosion.
And that does not cause some.
I agree with you.
It could have been something that was planted.
Or a bomb planted in the building. Yeah.
The second tower has gone down.
Oh my God! That was a bomb that did that.
Oh, fuck! Look at that!
That was a fucking bomb that did that. There's no goddamn way that could have happened.
And that did look like there was an explosion as it went down.
It went up.
I mean, that wasn't just because the building lost its structural integrity.
Did you finally hear what happened? Yeah, I don't know how the first went off, but the second one exploded. There was a bomb. Definitely a bomb in the second one. I don't know about the first one. It looks like there's an indent in the building, and maybe there was a plane, but I can't imagine how the second one went off. Two buildings on accident. No, I saw that second building blow up. It just blew up. Flat out blew up. No, it was not an airplane. It was a bomb. I saw that second building blow up. It was a bomb.
Did you think they would have caught the
No, I have it on film. The second blew up. The second one blew up.
It wasn't a plane.
No, not at all. The second one blew up.
It just blew up.
It blew up.
That's insane.
Building. Don't forget, that took a big bomb in the basement. Now, the basement is the most vulnerable place because that's your foundation, and it withstood that. And I got to see that area about 3 or 4 days after it took place because one of my structural engineers actually took me for a tour because he did the building. And I said, I can't believe it. The building was standing solid, and half of the columns were blown out. I mean, so this was an unbelievably powerful building. If you know anything about structure, it was one of the first buildings that was built from the outside. The steel, the reason the World Trade Center had such narrow windows is that in between all the windows you had the steel on the outside. So you had the steel on the outside of the building. That's why when I first looked, and you had big, heavy I-beams, when I first looked at it, I couldn't believe it because there was a hole in the steel. And this is steel that was, you remember the width of the windows in the World Trade Center, folks. I think you know, if you were ever up there, they were quite narrow. And in between was this heavy steel. I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through the steel? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have. And it was almost just like a can of soup.
You know, Donald, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that there was a plane with more than just fuel. I think Obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly because I was also watching where the plane seemed to be not only going fast, it seemed to be coming down into the building. So it was getting the speed from going downhill, so to speak. It just seemed to me that to do that kind of destruction is even more than a big plane, because you're talking about taking out